This is Mary Omni from the World Government House of King David, Holy Covenant Constitutional Enforcer. I'm the woman of Galatians 4:4 and the woman of Revelations 12. Please refer to your Bible. And all I ask you to do is consider that I am who I say I am. I'm the mother of the New Jerusalem, and I'm the mother that gave birth to newborn King Emmanuel, February the 15th, 2011. This is a Republic notice. A Republic notice concerning the fraud. A Republic notice concerning the child support fraud against black men, women, and children. The child support fraud against black men, mainly women and children. Now, as I said in other videos, Esau and all his consenting tabernacles want to pretend that the Civil War was not won by the Union, okay? The Civil War was won by the Union, and the Union supreme blacks in the Constitution and made blacks with privilege, gave blacks privileges and immunities. Blacks inherited, rather, privileges and immunities, the twin to the Supremacy Clause. By the 14th, privileges and immunities, okay? The 14th was inherited because 3/5 couldn't consent to anything, so that made privileges and immunities of the 14th is inherited. And the 14th has been non-consented since 1868, and everything that goes along with it is non-consented since 1868. So that means that the only constitutional citizens are black American men, women, and children. Now, we have citizens of several states, and the citizens of several states was originally Esau. He gave that up, and he considered that away for black codes. Therefore, he went against his own constitutional vote and suffrage. And the white woman gave that up to go and vote for corporate and foreign because she wanted the 19th Amendment. She didn't want to have the holy name of God. She was impatient by her narcissism. So what she did was consented to a 19th Amendment that really has nothing to do with her, because once she consented to that and started voting in that, she gave up her constitutional rights because she abridged the 15th for it. And she abridged the 15th, didn't have the language of the 15th. How ironic and how hypocritical. But anyway, all votes revert back to the constitutional supremacy because it's on constitutional land. So no matter how Esau goes about it, it always revert back to constitutional supremacy. And the Union constitutionalized non-consenters as the supremacy, which are black Americans, because guess what? Their blood is way worth more than a whole bunch of them being stuck on race. See, they only saw one color, and that was their red blood of the revolutionaries and the civil wars. And that's all they saw, their red blood investment. And they wanted that to protect it, and they Fort Knoxed it with non-consenters in the Constitution, which means all states are non-consented and all states' land are non-consented. Is Fort Knox contractually. Yeah, you can tread, a dog can tread, but it won't change the contract. Okay, be that as it may. Now, taking that into consideration, when we talk about child support, these courts in the state on constitutional state land that's non-consented, we have incorporate doctrines. These are people without no constitutionality that nobody forced come here. They're not in any of the 1 through 27 amendments. They want to base some kind of power on acts that they do with the U.S. corporation, which is the mule. The mule given to blacks, okay? The mule blacks inherited because blacks was non-consenters and had non-consent enforcement contractual rights since 1866. That was 5 years before the mule came about in 1871, which is the U.S. corporation. That's their mule. The same people who constitutionalized the 13th, 14th, and 15th, then wrote legislation for this 1871 corporate mule to make sure that the constitutional wealth and land and intellectual property, trademark, copyright, patents, everything, all the intellectual laws and amendments were protected under the Constitutional Republic 1 through 15th Amendment, which is the supreme contractual constitutionality. Because the 16th came 43 years later, and that was when they felt as though they had a debt holder, which was the white woman now has consented to her bondage and and produce bond children, because by that time, you know, she was ready to prepare for the 19th Amendment. So they was preparing her to be a bond woman with her children, and to set up her as a bond woman that would cause all women coming to America to be bond women and give birth to bond children. Even though they all claim to be the 14th, what they got is in a corporate doctrine dung contract. Not only are they not the 14th, they not nothing. They not nothing but dung pasted contractors of debt and theft. Okay. Now, in order to understand this clearly, I suggest you get the decree, because there's so much that I can do in this little 10-minute or 14-minute video that will give you clear proof by proof by proof by proof, understanding that you can take to anybody that they can't get around. Okay, so we go back to this child support issue. We have a whole bunch of corporate doctrine, non-constitutional Americans that are squatters and treaders. You know, like I said, a dog can give birth on somebody's property. That won't change the deed. And that don't make that dog no owner or no real participant in the deed. He just squatted out and gave birth. Now, okay? So that's how I compare that to that. Not saying they're dogs, but I'm giving you a clear scenario. Just because someone birthed on your land don't make them your constitutional citizen, okay? Or having any rights to constitutional citizens. First of all, most of them are invaders. So that automatically nullifies them as any constitutionality. Okay, and I'm not just talking about Hispanics. I'm talking about majority white invaders. Majority white invaders from all these European countries who try to walk around like they are invisible. No, we see straight through your pale skin and your veins and all that. Okay, now, so these are those that sits in the court, and they are all a part of the Bar Association. What is the Bar Association? The Bar Association is an organization of scabies, and their whole intent, no matter how much intellectual property they put in it, their whole intent is to bar the Constitution, to keep and steal and embezzle wealth. And so they always given black men one of these Bar Association attorneys to help him fight his woman, and they always given black women one of these Bar Association attorneys to help her fight the black man and get child support, and all of them, while so they can all just embezzle the trillionaire wealth of the black child that they trying to say the black man should pay when his wealth is written in the Constitution. He's born a trillionaire now in 2012, and they still got us in child support courts fighting each other over crack or dust so they can embezzle and larceny his wealth by ugu gobs away and trample that black infant for his 14th to his death and genocidal and attritional conditions. Now, that's the fraud. The fraud is the black man is the 15th Amendment, and that's the New Jerusalem wall. That nullifies anybody from having any jurisdiction over him. But he never asked the judge the proof of their jurisdiction. The Moors do that, but they do it by saying they foreigners, which is foolish, because they can say they right here constitutional, and they don't have to describe themselves as Moors. The Moors don't have no privileges and immunities in this country, but constitutional citizens have privileges and immunities in this country. Because because non-consent was built in the Constitution even when it was under legal jurisdiction. Okay, so they're in mistake. But anyway, you would have to read the decree to understand that further. But I'm saying the black man 15th is the New Jerusalem wall, and that's a cosmic wall. That wall goes from here to every planetary body and every planetary jurisdiction of the universe. That's how powerful his 15th is. And he's never asked them for jurisdiction. Not only that, he's not no subject, but he lets them treat them as a subject because they done pitted him against his woman. So he wants to be subject just to fight his woman to make sure he don't have to pay this child too much to hold this child over while they attrition and trample this child and stand up like Ponzi scheme pyramids and multiple pyramids all on his back spine from the time he born to the point of almost cutting off his breath, so that by the time he's 16 or 17 he's in genocidal conditions and training. Now, the black woman, she takes him to court, and a lot of times she is angry because he don't want to have no emotional investment in the child because he's still controlled by Dracons and he in low frequency. And she takes him to court basically a lot of times just to get the crack of dust of her wealth, of her 400 womb investment. Just to get the crack of dust to feed her baby, the crack of dust that they throw at her after they done embezzled trillions and trillions and quadrillions and trillions and trampled her for 14 generations and trampled her womb for 14 generations and done snatched the baby's food out of the mouth for everybody who came and said they wanted to be Americans. Every time a new generation, whether it was Italians, Irish, Bolivians, Croatians, every immigrant group, Asians, Japanese, Chinese, every immigrant that came here made them say, well, we got to attrition you more, starve you more, because we got to have that cause and effect to knock you down more, to steal your wealth for this group and that group and dismantle you and destabilize your children again out of wealth, food stamps, housing, education, health care. You got to be destabilized over and over and over again because you got to give your titty to the world. Meanwhile, your children got to get the little titty drippings of what's left over. And then we got to fight your man, make you fight your man to make sure that he gives some titty drippings to him that's of what's a little bit left over after you have destabilized and tied up his wealth and attritioned him and blocked him by getting a herd of animals on Satan's from around the world to trample this black infant and then say he don't have no money when he's the richest baby on the planet contractually. Okay, so this is what we got to understand. Now, I suggest you get this decree and you learn how to put these subjects of yours in their place. These bond judges, these bond children, these bond lawyers, these bond thieves, these bond bar association that tries to scabies you in every state, every corner, every city, every town, every jurisdiction, try to scabies you so he can keep on embezzling and hope you stay asleep and fighting your woman in a child support court of a trillionaire contractual trillionaire baby. This is Mary Omni from the House of King David.